Adding more sophistication to your tea sandwiches isn't overly complicated. It might be a little more time consuming and need more attention to detail, but it's still easy and achievable. Maybe you have a special event coming up and you want to make something easy but fancy and with a wow factor. That's exactly what we're doing today. I'll show you how we can take simple tea sandwiches to the next level and create the wow factor you're looking for. Let's get on to our first idea. Here's a ciabatta loaf, and over here I've got a chicken and pork pate, some cucumber, cherry tomatoes, microgreens, and some fresh basil leaves. Simple ingredients that we can turn into something delicious and beautiful. You can just about use any bread to make tea sandwiches. You can keep it fresh like we're going to today, or you could even toast it if you wanted to. Next, I'm going to cut some little circles which will form the petite base layer. Cookie cutters work well for this and allow you to make various different shapes. I'm going to soften a little of this pate so that we can pipe it onto the bread. It won't pipe nicely with little bits of aspic, so I'm scraping it away. The aspic is really only a decorative finish on the pate and it seals it, which increases the shelf life. Pate is a lovely consistency for piping, and I'm going to use it straight on the bread instead of a mayo or butter. If it's going to be visible, it's totally worth piping it on to get the decorative indentations. Then I'm going to add a nice chunky piece of cucumber. This will give our tea sandwich a bit of crunchy texture. Don't forget to pat the cucumber slices on some paper towel to soak up the excess moisture. Look at the stark colour contrast with the pate. Now comes the decorative, slightly fiddly part. I need 5 good-sized basil leaves, so I'm being a little picky. We're going to thread a cherry tomato onto a skewer between the basil leaf. Make sure you don't have too much of the skewer sticking out the end because it will make the threading trickier. I also like to fold over the edge of the basil leaf a little so that you can see the cherry tomato. When it's all on the skewer, stick it into the cucumber and all the way through into the bread. We could have just put a loose basil leaf and a cherry tomato on the tea sandwich and it would have looked great. But I think threading them like this is a simple way to add some wow factor. I love how these look. Some microgreens will finish them off perfectly. On to the next idea. I've got a nice dark rye bread to use today, and over here I've got some sliced ham, cucumber, ricotta, basil pesto, cherry tomatoes, and microgreens. There are so many different breads you can use. Remember to think about the colour you're using. I love the dark colour of this rye bread, especially with the contrast of the lighter coloured ricotta and ham we'll be using. I'm going to cut squares of these, so I've got a little cookie cutter to help keep all of these exactly the same. It always looks better if things are kept consistent. All of these offcuts can be used for breadcrumbs or even croutons. To make a spread for this, I'm going to mix the ricotta and pesto together. It's so nice having fresh basil and making homemade pesto. I made this in my stuffed chicken breast video if you want to see how easy it is. You could pipe this on if you want to, but I'm spreading it today. It won't be visible, so it doesn't need to be decorative. I'm trying to keep it all on the bread though. I don't want bits falling off the edges. Now comes the decorative part. I'm going to cut strips of ham using the same square cookie cutter to get the exact width of the bread. I'm going to halve the cherry tomatoes to expose the central part. You can see all the little seeds and patterns. Lastly, I want some cucumber ribbons, so I'm going to use a vegetable peeler to peel long strands. Make sure you turn the cucumber around when you start getting to the seedy core part. It doesn't fold as well and it isn't as nice to eat. I'm going to choose the best 6 strands for these sandwiches. Don't forget to dry them on some paper towel. Then we can loosely fold the strip of ham in a zigzag pattern, followed by the cucumber strip. Then top it with a cherry tomato half and stick through a skewer to hold it all together. This then goes into the square of bread. Either leave it sort of squashed down or tease it out a little to accentuate the delicate layering. This is still such an easy idea, but just a bit more fiddly holding it all together to skewer. I'm going to finish them with a couple of microgreen sprigs. Don't they look great? It's the simple little details that improve your plating, even just getting them evenly spaced. I love the colours and the height of these. And of course, they're going to taste delicious too. For our last idea today, I'm going to make a cream cheese filling. I've got some cream cheese at room temperature so it's nice and soft. Then I'm going to add some dried cranberries. I love the flavour of these, but also the colour they add to this filling. I've also got some dried apricots to dice into smaller pieces. You can use any dried fruit here to either add flavour or colour to your filling. Next I'm going to add some chopped walnuts. They'll add a bit of a crunchy component. Again, you can add any nuts of your choice. And lastly, I'm going to roughly chop some fresh parsley and chives for a bit of extra colour and flavour. Look at all these beautiful colours. Notice how the cream cheese is binding it all together. Let's put this onto our bread. I've got some fairly thick slices of soy and linseed bread, and I'm going to spread a thick layer of the cream cheese spread onto them. This is the flavour, so don't be skimpy, slather it on. Pop another piece of bread on top, making sure they're lined up nicely. This definitely makes it easier when it comes to cutting off the crusts. These sandwiches really work best if they've been wrapped for a few hours or overnight. This helps to compress them and makes cutting them so much easier. It also means they're a great make ahead of time option. Put them in the fridge until you want to use them. They'll last a good couple of days and still be fresh. So here they are. I can now use my serrated bread knife to cut off the crusts. Since they're compacted, they don't easily get finger dents or look squashed. I'm going to continue on and cut these in half into finger sandwiches. You could cut them in half again depending on how petite you want them. To take these to the next level, I'm going to tie them with a long piece of fresh chive. I've kept these fresh, but you could also toast the bread, add the filling, and cut and tie them to serve them straight away. These ends look a bit long, so I'll trim them a little to keep them all consistent. Don't these little parcels look so delicate? It's just a little bit of extra effort, but it takes these to the next level. Since I have some microgreens left over, I'll add a few on here too. Sandwiches are so much fun to make, and they're always so enjoyable to eat. If you're looking for some simpler ideas that still look amazing, check out this video here. See you over there.